Hey guys, welcome back to yet another video, and today we have the Redmi Note 10 Pro Max with us, and in this video we'll be taking a look at the first impressions, or rather detailed first impressions of this particular smartphone. And I wanted to be quite thorough because this is a smartphone that actually has so many different changes and is a huge upgrade over the previous generation and even better than most of the other competition in this particular segment. And I also find that generally we take our time with reviews, and as a result sometimes we're a bit later than others and they miss out on certain information that they would have liked to receive directly from us. So in this particular video I would like to give all that before actually going on to the review itself later on. Now I'm doing this directly on A-roll. I'm not having a separate script, so the video will likely be a bit longer, and we're also going to be doing an unboxing as part of this, and I'll explain why as well. So this will be a bit longer, but I'm assuring you that it will be worth your time and you should have all the details that you need about the Note 10 Pro Max by the end of this video. And before we get this started, please do make sure to hit the subscribe button and also turn on notifications to avoid missing any videos from us in the future. Now let's begin. Let's start with the Note 10 Pro Max unboxing, or rather I already have a unit here, so you would assume that it's already unboxed, and you would be right because this is the black color variant, and I already got this earlier, and Xiaomi really wanted to send across the other two colors, that is the blue color and the bronze color, to everyone, but unfortunately they were not able to send it on time. But still, due to the delay in embargo and considering that everyone did not get the device initially itself, they actually managed to still send across the bronze color variant, and so that's why I wanted to show you the bronze color variant and also talk a bit about the made in India and stuff like that, and how that has affected the overall Note 10 series itself. Now this box is very similar to most other Xiaomi boxes, not much different, but here you can see the main highlight of the phone definitely is the 108 megapixel camera, which we shall talk about very soon, and the made in India branding. Now made in India has been around for quite a while, and Xiaomi themselves have been making smartphones as well as various other products in India for quite a while now, but now it's quite different because every single smartphone being made by Xiaomi in India is actually made in India to a larger extent, and not just being assembled in India. They actually are making several components in India itself, which is a big step for any manufacturer, and also a way a paving stone towards making smartphones a bit more affordable, considering that the taxes and import duties and various other things will also reduce, and the overall smartphone pricing will also reduce. Speaking of which, this is very attractively priced. This starts at rupees 18,999. Now this it sounds unbelievable, especially considering that this has a 108 megapixel camera, quad camera system, as well as a 120 Hz AMOLED display. But yes, it actually retails at 18,999, and you even have an ICICI card offer with which you can get around 1,500 or up to 1,500 off, which is again insane. Now I'll talk about the other variants soon, but the box itself, let's look at it, and I'll talk about the overall features and specs as well. But this is the vintage bronze, as I mentioned, so let's just open that up. I'll show you what else is in the box as well. So you have a designed by Redmi logo, and you get a SIM ejector pin, you get a user guide, you get a TPU case. So it has slight frosting. Over here is not perfectly transparent, slightly translucent, you can say. So there's a matte sort of finish here. You also have the SAR values here, I'm guessing. Yes, so most of you ask me that from time to time. So the SAR value for head is 0.830 and for body is 0.648. Now is the bronze version itself, and we'll talk about this in detail soon and also show you the comparison between the black and the bronze. But for now I'll just show you what else is in the box, what else you get. So you also get a 33-watt charger and cable. So this is a USB Type-C cable. You have to use this in order to get the maximum charging speed, of course. And you also get the 33-watt fast charger. So this is a USB Type A port here, and you of course get a USB Type A to Type C cable. Now let us talk about the features and highlights, and also compare the bronze variant to the black variant. So I'd like to start by talking about the differences between the bronze and blue color variant compared to the black color variant, and then also give you an understanding on how these differences actually impact the end user experience, and then dive into the phone's features and my impressions on it so far. So as you can probably tell, the black color variant is a glossy finish. It has a sort of gradient that changes from a silver or a bluish gray to a fully black sort of finish, while on the bronze you basically have an orangish or bronze sort of effect, which also is a gradient effect, and sometimes it looks a bit gold as well. But at the end of the day, this has a frosted back and it has slightly better grip, I would say, and also is less prone to smudges and fingerprints. Now when you hold it in the hand, this way there doesn't seem to be any difference in terms of the overall handling, but when you actually hold it front facing, then you actually do notice a difference, and slightly more thicker, I can say, ever so slightly. At least it does seem to be thicker. Maybe it's not technically speaking, but the apparent thickness is slightly more on this particular variant, probably because of the difference in materials, and because of the glossy finish, this is more of a fingerprint magnet compared to the bronze and the glacial blue, both of which will have the frosted design. Now this is still easy to clean, considering that they're using glass at the back, and they're not actually specifying which glass they've used, because they're saying that they have more than one supplier for the same, and at the end of the day they just want to assure users that the quality of glass that's being used on the back is practically the same regardless of which variant you go for. And if you pick more than one device out of a lineup, for example, regardless of which the supplier is, all will have the same quality in terms of build, in terms of the strength, in terms of the scratch resistance itself. Now one thing I also noticed is that the bronze color variant, due to the matte thing, it picks up less lint around the camera edges, considering that the camera bump is actually a bit bigger than normal. It actually picks up less lint or dust around the camera module compared to the glossy finish one. So I know that several people actually prefer black color smartphones and they don't want something that's too flashy. So, you know, black is the obvious choice for them, but this is also something worth noting, considering that there is a chance that you could pick up more dust and lint from the camera module if you actually go for the glossy variant. At least that's been the case in my experience so far. So I'll put this aside for now and then move on to the other features and stuff. So I'll start with the front, because this is something that, you know, I think is the biggest change perhaps in this particular smartphone, and that is the screen itself. So this screen is a 6.67 inch. For the first time ever in a Redmi Note series, this is an AMOLED panel, 6.67 inch Full HD plus resolution, and it also has 120 Hz of refresh rate and 240 Hz touch polling rate. Now, one of the main sort of drawbacks of an IPS display, at least in the mid-range or lower mid-range segment, or practically where the Note series used to dominate, is the fact that they often have low sunlight visibility, right? Because of the fact that the display does not get too bright, the contrast ratio is not too high, the sunlight legibility is often affected. But in this particular case it does not, and it goes even further than that, because it has a peak brightness of 1200 nits, which is crazy and one of the best regardless of the segment. So there are many AMOLED displays which don't get that bright, even in the upper segment or the flagship or premium segment, and right now this is slightly over half, I would say, and I can actually bump it up all the way further and you can see just how bright it gets. But at the end of the day, I feel that, you know, for most people what they want is something that is usable regardless of which environment that they're in, if they're indoors, outdoors, and I feel that this does the job perfectly well. I tried it briefly outdoors and I had no issue in terms of visibility. It does the adjustment perfectly well. And one feature I also quite liked was the fact that you can disable the automatic brightness but still have a sort of you know, sunlight mode. So basically when you toggle this, if you're outdoors and you actually have a lot of ambient light, or maybe indoors, say with artificial lighting conditions, but still very bright, then what you can actually do is make use of this, and even with auto brightness turned off, it does still give you that additional brightness that you want. So of course, being an AMOLED panel, like you saw in this particular settings menu, the blacks are very black, the contrast ratio is great, the colors are good so far, and I feel that this is one of the best displays that I've seen so far, not just in this segment but any segment. The other thing to note is the front-facing camera, which is housed in the display cutout, and this is really tiny. So I'll actually show this on B-roll as well. So this is like maybe half the size of most other display cutouts that I've seen, and Xiaomi actually did this first. I think with the Mi 10 I saw a very small display cutout, and it's good to see that they're bringing the same technology to, you know, phones lower down in the price segment as well. So this is a 16 megapixel camera f2.45, and it's very small and very less intrusive in terms of actually you know, bothering you when you're watching something, for example. Now the glass here that's been used is the Corning Gorilla Glass 5, but at the back, like I said, it's not sure which exactly which glass they're using, because they're using multiple suppliers or manufacturers for the same. Now the fingerprint scanner is located on the right, and it's very fast, very accurate, and this is something that I noticed much better than the previous generation ones in terms of accuracy. But I do notice that this is actually not perfectly recessed or flush to the body. It's slightly raised from the body. I'm not sure if this was a conscious design or just that something happened after they started manufacturing it, but it's not faulty, it's not flimsy, nor is it wobbling, nor is it falling out. It's just that it's not flush with it, but more or less similar to the volume control button, but slightly more flush. And if you're worried about not being able to distinguish it from the volume button, don't, because the volume button actually has a glossy finish while this has a matte sort of finish, so it's still easy to distinguish it, and it's still fairly fast in terms of the overall unlock rate as well. Now, as a result of this the display being AMOLED, one great thing is that you basically have an always on display. So this is the always on display, so you can customize it with various different functions or animations, and you can also make it show notifications or batteries. So a single tap basically brings that back whenever you want, or you can actually double tap if you want to unlock it, for example, and wake up the screen. And I'm sorry, in between it's not unlocking, and the whole reason behind that is my fingers that are quite sweaty. Anyway, so if you come here, you can actually see all the different options and customizations that you can do for the always on display, and it's great to finally see this on a Redmi device as well. By default, this comes with Android 11 out of the box, and you get MIUI 12 as well. And it's also going to get updated to MIUI 12.5 very soon, and will be one of the first devices to get the update as well. So like I mentioned, this comes with 6+64, 6+128 and 8+128 GB variants that are priced at Rs 18,999, 19,999 and 21,999 respectively, and regardless of which version you go for, you get LPDDR4X RAM and UFS 2.2 storage. So this is the mid model basically, and overall I feel that in terms of performance too, this has a Snapdragon 732G, but I'm not really noticing any sort of sluggishness so far. It seems pretty smooth in terms of scrolling or whatever use case I've done so far. I've not done much of gaming yet, but I will do that as well for the review. But so far, even when it comes to camera usage or anything, it has been perfectly fine. Now that brings me to the camera setup at the back, which basically comprises of a 108 megapixel Samsung HM2 sensor. Now this sensor is very big, very large, and it's mated to an f1.9 camera, and you also get a macro camera, which is a 5 megapixel 2x telephoto camera, in the sense that it has 2x narrow focal length, and you also get an 8 megapixel ultra wide angle camera, as well as a 2 megapixel depth sensor. Now depth sensor, we all know it's not that useful. At least there's no practical benefit compared to not having it. At least in most cases you can still get decent depth detection and stuff without it, but in this particular case the macro camera is the real star, and I got some amazing shots with it so far in my limited time with it as well. I'm sure that if you guys get your hands on it, you can get some amazing shots as well. And of course the 108 megapixel camera also seems pretty good. Now it's also worth noting that the Note 10 Pro, which is the mid version between the Note 10 and Note 10 Pro Max, basically has the exact same setup as this Max version, and the only difference in that is the 108 megapixel camera is swapped out for a 64 megapixel unit. Now this was similar case to the Note 9 Pro and Note 9 Pro Max, where the Max version got a 64 megapixel sensor, while the other one, the regular Pro, got a 48 megapixel sensor. Now under the hood you get a 5000 mAh battery, but it's also worth noting that this 5000 mAh battery is actually housed within a body that's actually slimmer and lighter than before. So you have a weight reduction of around 17 grams compared to the Note 9 Pro Max, and you also have much slimmer body at around 0.7 millimeter, if I remember right, in terms of the thickness. So it is slimmer than before, it's lighter than before, while still giving you glass and additional features, and it also charges at a max of 33 watts, and you get a 33 watt charger in the box. Now you get USB-C, of course, you get dual stereo speakers, and you also get the IR blaster, which Xiaomi is probably one of the only companies to still be giving that, along with the audio jack as well. Now in terms of the connectivity, this does not give 5G. Now I'm not someone who believes that you should be buying a 5G smartphone right now, or rather 5G should not be a decision maker. Now, if you're buying a flagship smartphone, the chances are that it comes with 5G by default, and that's perfectly fine, especially if you plan to use that flagship for a longer period of time. Now, what I notice in terms of habits for most users in this particular price segment, they tend to buy a smartphone and then upgrade it maybe 6 months down the line, 1 year down the line, or basically the overall lifespan or the time that they use this particular device in the segment is shorter. Now, that is not proper justification to avoid giving 5G, but what is the following. So this particular smartphone retails at rupees 18,999. Assuming that Xiaomi wanted to give you 5G, they would have to either increase the price of this particular smartphone, say to 21,000, 20,000, or whatever the minimum rate they could go for while giving you 5G, or the other option is they would have to skimp out on certain features. Now, this is the first time that we are getting an AMOLED display, and that too a very good and 120 Hz refresh rate display. So I would rather have that than them lose out on other features just to give you 5G, especially considering that 5G is nowhere available in India. We are not sure just when we will see a realistic rollout in India, what the bans are, and various other issues that could crop up as well. So perfectly speaking, right now I feel that a 5G smartphone, if you get it, if 5G comes as part of the package and you're fine with the overall smartphone as a whole, and 5G is just something that you get alongside it, it's fine, go for it. But 5G should not be the deciding factor when you're thinking about a smartphone or comparing two different smartphones. Now, the closest competitor to this is probably the Realme X7, and I would say that I find this better in many aspects, particularly in terms of the camera. The X7 was not all that great, but I find this to be much better. The display as well, the X7 was good, it had an AMOLED panel as well, but this gets much brighter, the refresh rate is better, and overall I feel that this is a much more complete package compared to the X7. And the X7 Pro, yes, maybe it's better in some ways, especially in terms of the charging, but that again costs much more. So I would say that in this particular price segment, there's practically no other smartphone that gives you such a good value for money offering. Now, this is very impressive, and the only slight other issue I found, or maybe something that you guys would probably not even notice, is that while the display cutout is very small, the camera inside this is actually not centered. Now that I've seen it, it kind of is something that I can't unsee, and every time I look at it, I just keep staring at it, and when you go close, you can actually make out that it's not perfectly centered. That is the only thing, that and the fact that I actually don't like the black because it's quite glossy. And in terms of software experience as well, overall I feel that it's been much better. I feel that the MIUI has gotten much more stable. There are less bloatware, there's no ads practically. I haven't gotten any ads since I started using this. Right now it's been 3 days almost. I haven't received any ads as well, so I'm not sure if ads are going to come back or not. They haven't mentioned that exactly clearly. Poco does not have ads, but in this also so far I'm not seeing any ads, so I'm not sure what's exactly going to happen there. But I feel that they have taken some feedback into consideration and have improved everything from the hardware to the software. And this even has IP53 rating, by the way, which of course is not perfectly waterproof, but is much better and gives you more peace of mind than not having an IP rating at all. Overall, very, very impressive. I would say that this is an easy recommend for most people, as with most Redmi Note devices in the past, but now it addresses one of the main issues, or one of the main slightly smaller shortcomings that it had, which was the display. And now the display has gotten so much better than not just the predecessors, but also the competition, that this again makes for a perfect recommendation. Thanks for watching this video. If you have any questions, do let me know in the comment section below. Don't forget to hit the subscribe button. See you again in the next one.